On this episode of the Cold Front, we take a look at how we forecast and put it from the forecast to the green screen. We show you just how much work goes into putting a forecast together.
You're watching the Cold Front on VUTV Channel 15. Welcome to this episode of the Cold Front. I'm Hilko.
And I'm Lynnette Grant. As mentioned, we're going to take this episode a little bit different direction today. We're going from the talk show that we had last week, and we're kind of changing it a little bit so that we show you exactly what goes into putting our forecast together.
We decided instead of using the desk, we'd show off our nice new weather center. So we have that in the background behind us. And like we said, we're going to show you all the effort that is put into a forecast. Not many people know this, but meteorologists have to take a lot of math, physics, dynamics, synoptic, and mesoscale types of classes in order to come up with the forecast that we give you each day.
It's a lot more work than a lot of people would assume. A lot of people assume that we just get in front of the green screen and we go about presenting our forecast with all these numbers that the computer spits out. Well, that might be part of it with models, which we'll talk about a little bit. We don't know if those models can be trusted. We have to judge them for ourselves.
Yes, there have been incidents where the models have went down and you need to know what to do. And Valpo does a great job of that and teaching us what we need to do. So the first thing we're going to look at right here is a surface plot. So this shows the general United States focusing back into our area. This gives current observations. So one thing I want to note on this map is the reason that we had some of that lightning and thunder last night, as well as the brief precip, that was due to this cold front that is extending now through Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and down into the southern states. And this is what caused the showers and thunderstorms and even causing some precip and stuff down into the area today.
What's significant about any type of cold front, you usually see a wind shift behind them. Usually before the cold front, those winds will be out of the south. But as we see now, these winds behind the cold front are actually coming out of the north, and they're actually pushing this cold front further away from Indiana and into the southern part of the United States. But something we need to talk about, building in behind this cold front, we typically have our area of high pressure. And that's when we have, high pressure usually means that we have nicer conditions, more dry conditions. So not really any type of rain that we've been seeing, that we saw yesterday.
Right, so this is what's going to help bring in not only the beautiful sunshine back into your weekend forecast, but also the warmer temperatures associated with this high pressure system. Because the winds right now here in Valpo are coming out of the north. This is what was causing that mist in the clouds, but that will eventually begin to clear up, as you'll hear a little later in my forecast. And once that starts to clear up, this high pressure system will build into the area, and this will allow for some more pleasant conditions for the weekend.
Now, Lauren, if we're going to take a closer look here in Valpo, and we can see those winds are beginning to come off of the lake, which brought us those cooler temperatures and even some of those misty showers that we saw. I mean, we see those temperatures in the upper 50s right now. If those temperatures were anywhere near the mid-30s, that could be lake effect snow that we'd be seeing right now.
Exactly, but current temperature right now in Valpo is sitting right around 58 and 47 is the dew point. So this is what we use, different observations to see the types of weather that we're experiencing around the area. And as we have a little graphic to show you to kind of better demonstrate this, we have our temperature in the top, the current weather, which we don't have any really going on, so that's why that one's left blank, our dew point, and our cloud cover as well. And then I'll have Lynnette talk a little bit about the wind speeds and direction.
Now the wind speeds, there's usually a stick with flags on the end, and there are different sizes for those flags, and they each indicate different wind speeds. When you have a longer flag, that usually shows the winds at about 10 knots at the surface. If it's about half of a stick, then you have those winds that are at 5 knots at the surface. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the upper levels of the atmosphere and show just how important those are to our forecasts.
Good morning, Valparaiso University. What's a better way to start your day than with a new jam? And WVUR has just what you need.
But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it... If dying young won't change your mind, baby,
Broadcasting sports, news, weather, and music on air, online, and on campus. WVUR is my
Welcome back to the cold front. Before we take a look at the upper levels of the atmosphere, we're going to show you another important thing to look at before that, and that's looking at how current satellite is evolving. With this satellite imagery, we can actually take a look at the amount of clouds that are going on in the atmosphere right now. So we see on this map, we see the clouds that pushed through with that cold front that we saw yesterday, which brought us those showers and those thunderstorms last night. There was a little bit of lightning and thunder with those storms last night. And now with that front pushing through, we can begin to see these clouds coming off of the lake. We showed you on the map before that those winds were coming out of the north, and we can see those clouds coming off of the lake and from the north as well. While we also showed you where there was the area of high pressure on the map, we can actually see that on the surface. Our map just refreshed right now, but right over here where we see these clearer conditions and those clearer skies, that's where the areas of high pressure are right now. So we're going to be seeing, it's clearing up a little bit in Iowa right now, so eventually we're going to be seeing those skies clearing here in northwest Indiana.
Yes, and then now that we've showed you a little bit about the surface, we're going to take it to the upper levels, because the upper levels is what helps drive our systems. So if we could pull up a upper level map, we're going to start at 850. We're going to use the NAM that's typically a more shorter range forecast. If we want to do a long-term forecast, we normally look at the GFS. So right now we're going to look at the NAM though, and this is valid for 18Z on Friday. So that's, you look at the upper bar and you'll see that. So what you're looking at here is what we look for is advections, warm air advection and cold air advections. Warm air advection is just like it sounds, some warmer conditions into the area, and cold air advection is some cooler conditions. So where you see these reds and orange, this is areas of warmer air. The cooler air down here, we're getting some little bit of cool air advection into our area, and that's associated with the blues. And Lynnette will go a little more in detail about the different types of advection as well.
As Lauren mentioned, we do have warm air advection and cold air advection. We see how the different colors change from the reds to the darks to orange, yellow, green, and then going into the blues and purples. Those blues and purples are those cooler temperatures. So when we see those winds going from those warmer temperatures to where those cooler temperatures are, that's where you get warm air advection, because that wind is going to be bringing those warmer temperatures along with it. On the opposite side, when we have these winds going from those blues and purples to those oranges and reds, that's where you get cold air advection, which is just the opposite. You have those winds bringing in that cooler air into an area. So as we see on this map right now, again, this was valid for this afternoon on Friday. So we see this cooler air coming into the Great Lakes region as well as the Northeast, while we see plenty of warmer air being brought in here into the Central Plains.
Go ahead and advance it a little bit into the weekend, because I'm sure people are wondering, is this cool air going to be sticking around? And the answer to that is no. As this high pressure is building in, we're going to shift from that northerly wind to a more southwest oriented wind, and that's what's going to help us drive our temperatures up a little bit. As you can see, we got a pretty nice southwest wind coming in, and we can see those darker colors coming into the area and those cooler temperatures coming into the northeast while we're getting those warmer temperatures.
Definitely, and we'll advance it even a little farther to give you a sneak peek on Sunday, because Sunday's the big day of the weekend, and we see those reds getting closer and closer to northwest Indiana, which means it's going to get warmer by the time we go into the weekend, which I'm looking forward to. I don't know about you.
Oh yes, and again, like I was saying, with this high pressure, we're going to see generally drier conditions. So for the Chicago Marathon on Sunday, as well as the Cubs game on Monday, two big events going on in Chicago this weekend. It's going to be very pleasant as this warmer air builds in. Another important level that we like to look at is 500 millibars. Not only can we start to see those jets and the importance of those jets as a driving factor in the progression of our systems. We also look at vorticity, but we're not going to get too in depth with that because that's a dynamic and synoptic level course, so we're just going to keep it as simple as possible for you guys.
I think the simplest way to explain what we look at 500 millibars, where all these greens, yellows, and reds are, those are our winds at 500 millibars, which is about 5,200 meters above the surface. And where we see the darker colors, that's where the winds are stronger. And this wind pattern kind of creates almost like an atmospheric river, or we call it a jet stream, because it makes that flow and that pattern for the winds that we look at. Now, when we see these stronger winds here off of the coast and along the western United States, that's where they're seeing those stronger winds right now, as well as off to our north over in Canada right now.
So you notice this ridging pattern and this troughing pattern. The trough is a little bit of a dip, kind of like a hole in the ground, and the ridge is like a hill that you see. So what this means is this low pressure system is pushing off, which will also help, this jet will help to move the trough off to the east and let this ridge of high pressure built into the area, and this will allow for our drier and typically warmer conditions with the high pressure, while as with the trough you normally get your precip, your cooler temperatures associated with surface fronts and stuff like that.
Definitely. Now we're going to briefly talk about vorticity because I know you mentioned it. As we mentioned, we're not going to get too in depth with this, but really what we're concerned with about vorticity, that's what moves our systems away from us or toward us. So we see this trough, like what Lauren was talking about here, these colors of greens and yellows and even some reds, as the winds push those areas away, that's what's going to move our systems. So by the time we get into later this weekend, we'll see this trough kind of move away from us here in the Midwest, and this ridging pattern kind of build in, which will allow us to have those warmer temperatures this weekend.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. You're watching the Cold Front on VUTV.
Good morning, Valparaiso University. What's a better way to start your day than with a new jam? And WVUR has just what you need.
But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it...
If Daniel won't change your mind, baby, right.
Broadcasting sports, news, weather, and music on air, online, and on campus. WVUR is my jam.
On a campus plagued with terrible weather, Valpo students suffer from boredom with no motivation to leave their room. They begin to search for free movies and stumble upon Valpo's new free movie streaming website, where you get unlimited free access to recent movies like Despicable Me 2 and Jobs at the tips of your fingers. So if you're feeling bored, then don't wait. Grab some friends, find a seat, and enjoy a movie on movies.valpo.edu.
Welcome back to the cold front. We're going to step away from looking at the higher levels of the atmosphere because, as Lauren and I mentioned, it does get kind of confusing, especially if you haven't taken the science. So we're going to go back down to the surface and kind of look at what Futurecast models are doing in terms of any precipitation.
Right, so on this map in particular, we're seeing the general height pattern, and also this is the reflectivity. So this is kind of what we're going to be expecting. It kind of shows a simulation that if there was to be the chance for some precip in any type of form, it would pick up on this and it would say this is something that you might need to consider in your forecast when it comes to precip.
Now, Lauren, I don't know if you remember when we were looking at that surface map before, we saw that area of high pressure beginning to build in the Central Plains.
Yes.
We can actually see it a little bit circled right here. As we see with high pressure systems, that's when you're going to see your pressure increase. So as we go from 1020, 1024, 1026, those values are in millibars or hectopascals. We'll stick with millibars right now to make it simple. And as that pressure increases, that's when you're going to see high pressure at the surface, and therefore you're going to see nicer and drier conditions, so to say.
Going off of that, say we were to go the opposite way, so we go from 1026, 1022, 1018, we know that the cold front is somewhere in the low pressures over here because we're going from higher pressure to lower pressure. So that's how we can indicate the general area of where our highs and lows are located.
So if you ever see an H or an L on a surface map, now you guys know what that means. And generally, the H for high pressure is when we have nicer conditions,
Right.
and the L for low pressure is when it tends to be more stormy, whether it's thunderstorms in the summer or snowstorms in the winter.
Right, so as we look ahead, we're seeing some general nothing in the way of precip. Do you want to kind of
Yeah, we'll go
move this
through it
a little bit?
We'll go through a little bit as we advance into tomorrow morning. So Saturday morning, we see that the skies will continue to stay dry, as well as our pressure, the high pressure that we saw over here off to the west. That's actually going to be moving closer to us. So overnight tonight, we can see those skies are going to be they're going to be clear, because with high pressure, it tends to be dry. So very little chance for clouds overnight. So again, high pressure overnight, what does that mean, Lauren, in terms of those temperatures when you wake up tomorrow morning?
It should be very chilly.
So you're definitely going to need
Yes.
that jacket tomorrow when we head out. But let's continue looking into Saturday, because the weekend, everybody wants to know about the weekend.
Exactly. It is a long weekend for most people, except for
That's
us college
right.
students, with it being Columbus Day on Monday. So a lot of people, especially that work for government positions, will actually have a little bit of an extended weekend. And I'll have that a little bit more in depth about your forecast coming up in just a little bit.
Okay, so we put the model on Saturday afternoon is when this is showing. And we saw this high pressure system down here. It's kind of like off the map right now. It's over here. And we see another area of low pressure, again, kind of like off the map a little bit to the north. With the winds at the surface, they flow counterclockwise around a low pressure system and then clockwise around a high pressure system. So we can actually kind of figure out which way the winds are going to be coming from as we go through the next few days as well.
And like she was saying, with our high pressure system, if you get that clockwise spin, so say we're going this way around the system, that's what's giving us that southwest wind, which will help build in that warmer temperatures.
Typically when you have those southwest winds, that's when it tends to be warmer, because we have
Exactly.
the surface winds bringing in that warm air from the Gulf of Mexico and from the south, where it always tends to be warmer.
Right, not only does it bring in temperature, it also brings in moisture. If you want to pull up 700 millibar moisture, that's another thing that we typically look at to see where the clouds are building in, as well as the raise in the dew points. Is it going to feel muggy or is it not? This is a good indication that we're seeing very dry conditions.
Right, exactly. When we see these reds, that's when it's drier. But then I will go forward a little bit into Saturday. We see these whites and these grays, and that's another that indication of kind of where those clouds are going to be. So it's looking like from this map that another front is going to be coming through
Exactly.
into the weekend. But it doesn't look like to be producing any rainfall, though, as we saw on those models.
Right, no, it's not going to be, but this just means the possibility of maybe some extra moisture which will help build in the clouds. But normally then, if this was precip, you could also see that the moisture could help feed in to create possible severe weather and stuff like that.
This weekend's actually looking really nice in
Oh,
terms
I'm
of
looking
that
forward
forecast.
to this weekend. It's a big weekend. I know in the Chicago area, the Chicago Marathon. I know on Monday the Cubs are going to be playing, so I'll have a little bit of that forecast coming up in just a little bit.
Definitely. Well, when we come back from our break, Lauren, I believe you're going to have that forecast for
Yes.
us. We'll touch a little bit on what we think the weather is going to be like for the Cubs game, like we mentioned on Monday, as well as looking at your holiday weekend, because as we mentioned, a lot of us don't have work on Monday, but unfortunately students still have classes.
Well, you're watching the Cold Front, and stay tuned on VUTV.
Good morning, Valparaiso University. What's the better way to start your day than with a new jam? And WVUR has just what you need.
But but if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it
If dying young won't change your mind, baby, right.
Broadcasting sports, news, weather, and music on air, online, and on campus. WVUR is my jam.
On a campus plagued with terrible weather, Valpo students suffer from boredom with no motivation to leave their room. They begin to search for free movies and stumble upon Valpo's new free movie streaming website, where you get unlimited free access to recent movies like Despicable Me 2 and Jobs at the tips of your fingers. So if you're feeling bored, then don't wait. Grab some friends, find a seat, and enjoy a movie on movies.valpo.edu.
Welcome back to the cold front. As we were talking about, we're taking you from the forecast to the green screen. So we've been talking all about this forecast. I've looked at models and I've went ahead and put this forecast together for you. So we showed you the preparation it takes, and it's very difficult to get from the forecasting area to this to give you your daily updates. As we look at current conditions, we're seeing 58 degrees with cloudy skies. And as we look at the almanac, we've been seeing some very cooler conditions. We're expecting a high right around 60 today and a low around 45. Now, average throughout this time, we're seeing highs right around 65. So our temperature is a little below normal for this time of year. Regional temperatures, we're seeing a temperature of 58 in Valparaiso, 59 in Kankakee, and 59 into the Chicago area. So we're seeing temperatures generally in the upper 50s right along the lakeshore and a little bit warmer as we head inland. The RPM model regionally, I wanted to pull this out to show just some general 50s throughout the area as you head throughout the evening. As we get into the overnight hours, though, we're going to be seeing temperatures right around 45 degrees as we head into the early morning hours on Saturday. Looking back toward the Valpo area, we're seeing 63 for the day tomorrow, but back to our west, this is that warmer air we were talking about building in with that higher pressure. We're going to be seeing 78 degrees in Sioux Falls, and that area will continue to push into the region as we head into the day. On Sunday, seeing 72 in Valpo and even temperatures closer to 90 as we head back toward Nebraska. Looking closer to home, we're seeing 58 at Valparaiso and 60 down into Wheatfield. We put this into motion. It's going to be a very chilly night. We're going to be seeing temperatures get down into the upper 40s for the area, and that's going to be the general pattern throughout Indiana and Illinois, warming up into the lower 60s and then right around 6 p.m. on Saturday, 57 here in Valpo. Once again, overnight temperatures getting down to right around 47 degrees for the early Sunday morning. We've had clouds and a mist around the area. That will begin to progress out of the area as those lake-enhanced showers and the wind begins to change direction as the high comes through. We're going to be seeing just some general clearing as we head into Saturday, so it should be shaping up to be a very beautiful day as you head outdoors. Looking at the forecast again for today, we're going to be seeing a temperature right around 60 degrees, cloudy skies. The lake effect showers look to be done, and as we head into tonight, we're going to be partly cloudy conditions and a low right around 45. Tomorrow, we're going to be seeing a temperature right around 65 and sunny conditions. And as we look ahead at your 5-day forecast, looking to be shaping up to be a beautiful Columbus Day. And even into the day on Sunday, we're going to be seeing temperatures in the upper 70s. For Monday, Columbus Day, it's also a big day for the Cubs. We're going to be seeing sunny conditions and then a little bit of a cool down as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday, with temperatures reaching the middle to upper 60s with sunny conditions. But we're going to be staying right around normal. But this weekend, we're going to be seeing that, like we said, the higher pressure, the warm air advection, and that's going to what's helped to create very pleasant conditions for this long weekend.
Definitely. So it just goes to show there's so much information that we need to look at as meteorologists in order to put these forecasts together for you every day.
Yes, this is a huge science. Again, like I said, we take all those classes, we look at all these maps to bring you your forecast every day, and we do what we love and enjoy, which is tell you guys the weather.
And we do it even if it takes like 5 minutes, if it takes 2
yes.
hours, we'd still do it because we know the forecast is important to get out to you guys because you guys want to know if you need to bring that jacket with you to classes or even to work or that umbrella.
If you want to see our daily updates, go on Facebook, VUTV Weather, and you can find us there. For Lynnette and myself, I'm Lauren Hilko. Have a great day, everyone, and tune in next week.
Good morning, Valparaiso University. What's a better way to start your day than with a new jam? And WVUR has just what you need.
But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it...
If dying young won't change your mind, baby, 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 right.
Broadcasting sports, news, weather, and music on air, online, and on campus.